are used to give more information. We use these words and phrases with countable and uncountable nouns. With a quantifier, just about all nouns in English are countable. Simple quantifiers used with countable nouns include many, few, several, etc. Quantifiers used with both countable and uncountable are all, enough, a lot of, some, any, and more. Partitives are words or phrases used to refer to just part of something. Makes sense, doesn't it? Partitives, part. We use those to talk about part of something, not the entire, but it's not always exactly true, and I'll show you why. In other words, a partial quantity. Partitives are used to refer to both countable and uncountable nouns like a glass of water, a can of soda, a slice of bacon, a room full of people. So let's take the last one. A room full of people. Well, people, person, people, that's a noun, right? It's countable. There's one person, there are 3 people, 4 people, 5 people. But when we use a partitive, we're talking about a group or part of something. A glass of water, right? How do we talk about water? Water is not countable, right? It's an uncountable noun, but not exactly, because if we refer to it in the container, a bottle of water, a glass of water, something like that, then it becomes countable. Often we use a container or form of measurement, you see. This grammar review is a brief explanation of quantifiers. Here are a few examples, and be sure to ask your teacher to explain this a little bit further. This topic is a great topic, especially for early learners of English. Here are some partitive examples. Hey, I just bought a pound of sugar at the supermarket. So it could be a pound of, it could be a bag of, it could be a can of, a container of. And this is how we talk about items that are often uncountable. Here is a bouquet of flowers. So a bouquet, how do we describe many flowers? I could say, well, I have 12 or 13, 15 flowers in this bouquet, right? Or I could say, hey, here is a bouquet. I don't know how many flowers are in there. So we often do that when we don't know exactly how many. Hey, would you like a cup of coffee now or later? A cup of coffee. We learn at the early stages that coffee is not countable because it's a liquid, right? But if I said, hey, we have 5 people coming to our home today. They're coming over for breakfast. Let's make 5 cups of coffee. So in this context, we're saying we're using the number 5 to talk about coffee, aren't we? May I get you a bottle of water from the fridge? So water is not countable either, right? We learned that at the early stages, but it is countable if we refer to the container that it comes in. Here are some countable quantifier examples. Hey, could you buy a few apples at the shop? Now, technically fruit, the word fruit is a collective noun, and then under that goes apples and bananas and oranges and so forth. So fruit as a noun is a collective, but apples are countable. Often we talk about things that we can put in our hand or we can see physically are countable. Some items, many nouns in English are countable and uncountable. We have several cats on the farm. So several. Well, how many is that? Well, I'm not sure. Probably more than 2. That might be a couple. Several could be 3 or more. How many apples do we have at home now? Well, we have 3 or 4 apples. Let's buy some more. So many in this context is your quantifier. Here are some uncountable quantifier examples. Hey, could I have just a little? So just a little, just is an adverb. I could say, hey, could I have a little sugar for my coffee? The problem with a little is how much is that? Do you know how much a little is? If I put an adverb in there, could I have just a little? you see? So when we say just, that's your adverb, and it's used to either increase or decrease the strength, or the, let's say, to emphasize, in this case, sugar, right? Hey, may I offer you a bit of my chocolate cake? It's so tasty. So, a bit of. How much is that? Well, we don't know. The idea is that a bit to you, like a little to you, might be this much or this much or this much. We don't know. It might be, it might be 1 cup. It might be half a cup. It might be less than that. We don't know. It's all about you, and that's why we use quantifiers like that. Hey, our neighbor doesn't have much money. Well, much. That's used for uncountable, isn't it? And technically, money is not countable. $1, $2, $3, $4, those are countable, right? But money is also a collective. So the way that I would normally teach this subject is money is a collective, and then under that you have $1, $5, $10, something like that. Those are countable, but money is a collective. I want to thank you for joining me today. Have fun with English.